Hello, everyone. I'm Luquitas Montes again, and today we are continue with this book. Sorry for that. In the last chapter, if you can remember, the chapter 9, the name was The Advertisement, and it was about Miss Julie, the wife of Colin, that posted an advertisement on a journal, a national journal, to see if anyone knows something about her husband. So now, let's begin with the search. Mark Ashwood, if you can remember, this man was the person who saw first Colin at the accident. Now we can continue. Mark Ashwood switched off his computer. He put some papers into a folder and he put the folder on a shelf. The research on export regulation which he had done for his new client had been interesting. Now he had finished preparing a report on what he learned. He went downstairs and got himself a cold drink for his fridge. It was a Friday evening and Mark had finished work for the week. On the Monday morning after the car accident, he had telephoned the policewoman at the time, and he learned the identity and the address of the man who had died. But for the next couple of weeks, Mark had been too busy to think about a visit to the man's wife or about what he might say to her. Mark finished his drink and sighed heavily. He had arranged to go out with some friends that evening, and the next day they were all going climbing in Wales. In Mark's opinion, rock climbing was the perfect way to relax. It was a sport that required calmness and self-control, and it was exciting to climb a steep rock face with nothing below you but the sea. He was going to enjoy his weekend, but on Monday he'd take the report to his new client in East London, and then he'd take the report to his new client and then he decided he'll better visit Mr. Bentley. She was the widow of the man who had died in the crash. He had to tell her what her husband had said just before his death. Mark set off from Stratford upon Avon early in the morning. He reached his new client's office on the southeast side of London just before 10:30. Mark and his client spent the rest of the morning and the whole of the afternoon discussing export and other business. When their discussions were complete, Mark and his clients made arrangements for another meeting in about 10 days' time. A few minutes later, Mark was sitting in his blue Volvo in the company's car park, studying a map of the Brentwood area. Having found John Bentley's street on the map, he started his car and drove towards Brentwood. He had decided not to phone the man's widow first. It would be difficult to tell her that he wanted to visit her without telling her why, and he didn't want to tell her that till he saw her. It was dark now, and it was raining. People were leaving their workplaces and going home, so the roads were very busy. It was an hour before Mark reached the address he was looking for. Mark parked his car outside the Bentley's house. The street was long and straight, and it was lined in both sides with small square houses with garages beside them. The street wasn't well lit. Mark switched off his car engine and looked up at the house. There were no lights burning inside. It looked as though Mr. Bentley wasn't at home. Mark's journey had probably been a waste of time. He hurried to the front door and rang the bell. To his surprise, he hears sounds of movement inside the house, and for a moment he saw a light through the glass in the front door, a light in a black room of the house. Someone was at home after all. He rang the bell again. Then the light in the black room went off. Now the house seemed silent and empty. Mark went back to his car and wondered what to do. He was going to visit his client in London again in about 10 days' time. He could try to contact Mr. Bentley again then, but he really wanted to see her at once. He'd prepared carefully what he wanted to say, and he wanted to say today. He glanced at his watch. It was 6:45. Mark decided to go and eat some dinner somewhere and then to come back. If Julie wasn't home when he returned, he'd had to try again the next time he was in London. He started the engine and drove away to find a pub or a restaurant. That afternoon, Linda Bentley had told the manager at the Sandwells that she wanted to leave her job at the end of the month. Mr. Rose linked Linda, and he was worried to hear her news. But he hadn't argued with her. He hadn't tried to change her mind. As soon as the shop closed, Linda went to see Frankie Simpson at the Red Lion. She telephoned first, and Frankie was expecting her when she arrived at 6:30 that evening. They sat together at a table in the corner of the pub. "Shall we go down to business?" Frankie said. "You told me that the deal we arranged will still go ahead." "Yes," Linda replied. "John's death makes no difference to the deal. And you want me to fence a big pile of jewelry? Is that right?" "Yes, more than £1 million worth." Frankie raised his elbows. "That's a hell of a lot of jewelry, Linda," he said. "Can you sell the jewelry for me?" "Yes, I can fence it," Frankie said. "But who is going to do the robbery? I thought John was going to do it. But now—" "You don't need to do that to know that," Linda replied. "When will I get the cash?" "It isn't easy to raise that much money," Frankie said. "I can't fence that much jewelry in the London area. Some of it you'll have to go north, to Birmingham and to Manchester. I've got a good contacts in the jewelry trade in both cities, but it will take a little time to move the stuff." "So how long will it take?" "It will help if I knew exactly what kind of stuff you are going to bring me," Frankie said. "I can give you a detailed list," Linda said. "I'll let you have it in a few days." "When's the robbery going to happen?" "In about 10 days' time." Frankie thought for a moment. Then he said, "As soon as I get that list, I can inform my contacts. That way, I will make sure they'll have the cash ready when we deliver the jewelry. Of course, these people won't pay more than 50% of the jewelry value. You know that, don't you?" "Yes, I know that, Frankie." "Okay, well, give me 3 days after you hand over the stuff to me. Then you will be able to collect the cash." "Fine," Linda said. "And while we are talking about money, we'd better discuss my share, Linda," Frankie said. "Fencing stolen jewelry is a dangerous business. It'll be taking a big risk. What are you offering me?" £75,000, Linda said. Frankie laughed. That's not enough, my dear, he said. There is a big risk, and I will need a lot of help. I'll have to pay my men. How much do you want then? 120,000. It was Linda's turn to laugh. You must be joking, she said. You've got to move the stuff fast, said Frankie. And that costs money. Okay, I will give you 100,000, no more, said Linda. Okay, Linda, Frankie agreed. It's a deal. It was 9 o'clock that evening when Linda turned onto the drive in front of her garage. The headlights of her van lit up the figure of a man standing at her front door. Linda got out of the van and went up to him. Who are you? She said. What do you want? Mr. Bentley? Mark asked. Yes. I'm very sorry to call so late, but I was in the area and I need to speak to you. My name is Ashwood, Mark Ashwood. Linda looked puzzled. They stood there in the dark, staring at each other. You don't know me, Mark went on. I've got to talk to you about your husband, Mr. Bentley. I was there when he died. He asked me to give you a message. Linda unlocked the front door. Come in, she said. Oof. As they stepped into the house, a voice called out, Linda, is that you? Oh my god. Linda stopped suddenly for a moment. Mark saw a figure at the top of the stairs, but almost at once the man turned and disappeared into one of the upstairs rooms. Suddenly, Mark's body was trembling with shock, as though he'd seen a ghost. The man's face had been exactly like the face of John Bentley, the man he had seen die near Tame. Linda had to think quickly, but that was something that she'd always been good at. She smiled sadly at Mark. Oh, dear friend of mine. A dear friend of mine is keeping my company, she said. And my friend wasn't expecting me to arrive home with anybody else. And as my husband died so recently, she shrugged her shoulders. Well, it doesn't look good to have a man in the house, does it? Mark didn't know what to say. He felt foolish, and he wished he hadn't come. I'm sorry, Mr. Bentley, he said nervously. Come into the living room, Linda said. I'll make us some tea. Mark sat down in the Bentley's living room and listened to the sounds of a woman making tea in the kitchen. He was confused. What was happening here? The man in the wrecked car had given him a message for his wife, Julie. But the man at the top of the stairs had called out, Linda, not Julie. Soon the woman came into the room carrying tea things on a tray. She poured tea into 2 cups and handed one to Mark. You must think I'm a terrible person, she said. But the truth is, my husband and I weren't very happy together. Perhaps you understand. Are you married yourself? No, I'm not, Mark said, sipping his tea. It was time to say what he had come here to say. Your husband was driving in front of me that night, Mr. Bentley. He went on. The road was covered in ice. I saw his car spin on the ice and crash into a tree. I stopped to help him. Before he died, he asked me to speak to you. I'm sure he said, tell Julie I'm sorry. Those were his last words. But if your name is Linda, not Julie, perhaps I misunderstood him. Perhaps my husband was confused, Linda said. Yes, perhaps he was, said Mark. I'm glad you came, Mr. Ashwood, Linda said. It was very good of you to visit me. She smiled. I appreciate what you did for my husband when he was dying. Mark finished his tea and stood up. I'll better go now, he said. The woman took him to the front door and watched him hurry down the dark path towards his car. It was almost 1 o'clock when Mark arrived home in Stratford. He had a shower, then he went to bed. But he couldn't sleep. He couldn't relax. His meeting with Mr. Bentley had worried him badly. Had the Bentley's marriage really been so bad? It must have been, he thought. Only a few weeks after her husband died, Mr. Bentley hadn't seemed unhappy. And she had another man in her house, a man who looked exactly like her dead husband. It was all very strange. And as Sean Bentley was dying, he had spoken about his life, calling her Julie. But Mr. Bentley seemed to be called Linda, not Julie. That was strange too. There was a puzzle here, and Mark wanted to solve it. He thought about these things for hours until he finally fell asleep. The next morning, he got up later than usual. He was tired after his restless night. He took his daily national newspaper from the letter books and went into his kitchen to make some breakfast. He read the newspaper while he ate. For the second time in 2 days, he had a shock. On one of the inside pages among the ads, there was a photo of a man whose face he immediately recognized. Oh! It was the man who had died in the car crash near him. Above the photo were the words, "Have you seen this man?" Below it, there was a brief description. Colin Fenton, 35, disappeared on the evening of 10th January. If you have any information about him, please phone Julie Fenton on 01522335912. Had Mark now found the Julie he was looking for? There is certainly a puzzle here, Martha, but perhaps I'm beginning to solve it. Oh shit. Oh my god. No. Oh, the plan of Linda is going down. It's going to be finished any moment. Oh my god, I want to read another chapter, but I have to leave. See you at the next video.